G'day guys, this is the second supplemental for Lactobacillus reuteri. So we're going to look at the probiotic in terms of male reproductive organs and stuff like that. So let's just get into it. This is a rat study, and just to cover a few points. Rats have a high metabolic rate. They also basically, so the results in a rat are going to be a bit faster than humans in that regard. So you've got to take that into consideration when you're sort of calculating these sort of things. But, you know, the same sort of pathways, because this isn't diet, this is basically something that's in all mammals, and similar pathways in all mammals are affected by this probiotic. So it's really important to understand. So let's get on discussing Lactobacillus reuteri, and in terms of testes. Okay, let me just share the screen. Share. Okay, so this is the actual study. This was back in 2014, and it's called Probiotic Microbes Sustain Youthful Serum Testosterone Levels and Testicular Size in Aging Mice. So these are old boys, you know, that are getting resized, getting bigger balls, and getting a bit of a T boost as well in the process. Now, let's get into the fun parts. Just cover the abstraction, just in general. A decline in circulating testosterone levels in aging men is associated with the adverse health effects. During studies of probiotic bacteria and obesity, we discovered that male mice routinely consumed purified lactic acid bacteria originally isolated from human milk, had larger testicles and increased serum testosterone levels compared to their aged matched controls. So, as I've already pointed out, human milk is a very high source of Lactobacillus reuteri, and the little baby sucks quite a bit. And so the milk and meat, I've pointed that out, are the major sources of this. It's an acid-loving bacteria, so it lets it survive in both those. And it can proliferate and take, you could say, it can increase its stake within the microbiome compared to pathogenic and other sorts, which is good because it's something that originates very way back in the distant past in all mammalian tissue. Anyway, that'll be explained further down. Had larger yes, between the control. Yep. Further investigation using microscopic assisted histomorphometry of testicle tissue showed the mice consuming Lactobacillus reuteri in their drinking water had significantly increased semiferous tubes, the cross-section profiles, and increased spermatogenesis. So more sperm. Remember what I said about this? It increases your sperm as well. So bigger loads, boys. And also the lactic cell numbers per testy. Now that's important for testosterone. Okay. When compared with matched diet counterparts, this showed that the criteria of gonadal aging, you know, your gonads, aging were reduced after routinely consuming a purified microbiomes such as L. reuteri. And we tested whether these features typical of sustained reproductive fitness may be due to the anti-inflammatory properties of L. reuteri, and found that testicular mass and other indicators typical of old age was similarly restored to youthful levels using systemic administration of antibodies blocking pro-inflammatory cytokine interleukin 17A. So they actually were able to use antibodies to actually suppress and block interleukin 17A, and what they saw was similar sort of youthful results. So this little nasty thing does increase as well in our systems as we get more inflamed with age and more damaged and more senescent and everything else. So we'll cover that a bit on a couple of other matters as well. This indicated that uncontrolled host inflammatory response contributed to the testicular atrophy, your balls becoming smaller, phenotype in aged mice. Reduced circulating testosterone levels have been implicated in many adverse effects. Dietary L. reuteri and other probiotic supplements may provide a viable, natural approach to the prevention of male hypogonadism, so smaller testes, and for the common man, smaller balls. Absent and the controversy of the side effects of traditional therapies. And we know some of the side effects of the traditional therapies can be quite nasty and quite dangerous. So I'd rather take this strand of probiotic than take some of that chemical shit that Big Pharma dishes out and causes all sorts of health problems for a lot of people. Use practical options for the management of disorders typically associated with normal aging. These novel findings suggest a potential high impact for microbe therapy in public health by imparting hormonal and gonad features of the reproductive fitness typical of much younger, healthy individuals. So for us poor old boys, we can actually get big balls again like the young boys, and improve our reproductive health, increase our testosterone, and basically, you know, keep those nasty interleukin 17A down that cause this shrinkage of those Leydig cells and also reduction of testosterone. So there's a lot of people out there trying to push a barrow. Oh, you can take this and you can take that and whatever. If you've got Leydig cells that are basically small, you know what? You can take whatever you like. Testosterone ain't going up. Believe me, old boy. Nah, you need this to actually increase it. They're not going to go up just because you took some shit supplement and probably paid quite a bit of money for it. So this is dose response and we get results. We see it. So it's not something that is not happening. It definitely freaking is. Now let's move down. I'm not going to go through the introduction or that. Now they're looking at results. So talk about a bit about the diets and sort of that, but who gives up? Because they don't make much difference. They control all the other, the so-called new Western diet, which is another big toss. Anyway, so we can see a number of things here. Let me just zoom into this. Okay, so what do we notice between the two? They're on the same diet. One thing we do notice is high testosterone, much leaner compared to fatty boy over here with small balls, and or leaner boy over here with big balls. That's what we want, guys. Lean, chiseled bodies with big balls. Anyway, let's move on. So that's general information on the controls between. So you basically see the diets basically no different. You know, that strand, that's where the difference is in the weight of these. And these are in grams, obviously, you know, I mean, this is significant in a rat. Okay. So remember, these are little things. They don't weigh a lot. I mean, they don't even weigh a kilo. So, you know, point something grams is a lot for a rat, believe me. So pair testes weight at 7 months. So there's E. coli, pretty much no difference. So there again, diets, the new diet is a bit cleaner, has less sugar and crap and all that, and seems to do a bit better. So, you know, you'll get a bit of an effect from diet, a bit of an improvement, but it's not dramatic. The real, you know, obviously if you've got a cleaner diet, you'll get better results. Remember what I said last time, the ability to basically deal with pathogens and all that is dependent also on, you know, some fats as well. You know, so that does play a bit of a role as well. But there are other mechanisms here as well. So we will move on. Let me push that out. There at 12 months. So, I mean, you can actually see the control. We haven't seen much of an improvement in that regard. It's still way below 3 over here, and this is sustaining good size up there. That's good to know. So what we don't have is, you know, sort of like multiple years and all that. So we can say for half the life of this, if you've got good levels of this, you will maintain good levels. So obviously, I think that if you basically don't have this strain or this strain diminishes in your body, then obviously these effects will recede as they did in the past. So let's say you consume a lot of shit, which is full of glyphosate, and you diminish this sort of stuff. Well, you know, you've only got yourself to blame. And you're exposed to other things that, that could actually cause you to have to use antibiotics and all that. You may have to supplement again to recolonize. There's another option. There's a couple of people that have been talking about keepers. My friends are going to basically try and actually make keepers with this as well, but try and actually maintain the strain and just use keeper as a supplemental thing, which they can continue taking, so they don't have to fork out too much money. So that's another option to consider, because you never know, this company could go bust, you know, so they, you know, it's sort of an insurance policy on our side. Anyway, so of that part. So definitely heavier balls. Yeah, so that's basically the increase of testicular weight on a high-fat diet, which is basically standard Western shit diet. The new westernized type of diet with high-fat, low fiber, with substantial levels of B vitamins and D vitamins, mimicking human fast food diets. Well, it actually doesn't really mimic. It does on the one hand because it still has some sugar in there and all that, doesn't it? You know, they remember the chow and all that. The only difference between this is basically if you ignore the sugar part, our diet tends to be higher in B vitamins and D vitamins and stuff like, and fat soluble vitamins in general. So we did see slight improvements between the two. So obviously a carnivore diet, taking this on a carnivore diet, will have better results because our diet naturally has higher amounts of B vitamins and vitamin D and fat soluble vitamins in general. So the results will be better in that regard. but you still will get some results, better results than on even on a standard diet, compared to not doing anything, not having this strain. But the problem with a standard diet is you're constantly fighting the effects of glyphosate in the diet because you're eating plants that are full of it. So yeah, that's the problem. So how much traction you're going to make? Remember, this here isn't the glyphosate stuff. This is basically purified sucrose that they're putting in. So it doesn't have any glyphosate. It's just sucrose, pure sucrose, and proteins and stuff like that. It's not a, it's mimicking, but it's not really, because it doesn't have some of the nasty things like the colorings and the glyphosate and the damaged lipids of the seed oils and the high deuterium and all these other factors that the standard sick diet has. So it's not a real replication, but that's what they call it. Let's not argue with them. We're not here for. We just want to see the difference between taking the supplementation or not. Obviously, you will deplete this, and you'll be fighting against your own diet and won't be getting a lot of traction on a real standard diet. That's the point that I'm trying to make. So don't think, oh, I could actually have a lot of cheat days and take this because it does help with a bit of weight loss. Our metabolic rate is different compared to that, slower, so they can get quicker results. So don't be fooled. Okay, that's a fool's errand. Let's move on. That's about the actual tubules cross section. So this is about the testes architecture and stuff like that. And they basically look at the improvements here. So we're going to just look at the visual stuff. We're not reading the stuff. If this, what did it come up? Let me just do that again. Okay. For some reason, this viewer isn't responding. We'll look at it from a distance. As you can see, 5, 7, 12 months. There's increases along the lines there. In here, actually, the control time does actually better with the Ruteri than but it's marginal. So, but further along the line, so the E. coli does nothing. So it had an E. coli version of control as well, does nothing. And then again, those results. So there's again the Ruteri, there it is again, there it is again, there it is again, there it is again. So the results are obvious. So these are germ cell nuclear volumes, so very important. So they're more in the youthful level, the germ cells. So really good. So, you got to be more, you could potentially have kids at a later age as a male. Healthy kids as well. So that's what that's showing, more youthful. Now, let's move on. Now, the stuff that all men are really concerned about, testosterone, boys, testosterone. Histomorphological examination revealed that L. reuteri effects on mouse testicular tissue was not limited to just STs, which is these tubes, seminiferous tubes, cross-section area. Where was I? No, further down, that's right. But also extended to the interstitium. always a bit of a tongue twister, interstitium, specifically the probiotic organism induced prominent Leydig cell accumulations in the intestine, interstitial tissue between the STs. So this sort of area. Anyway, so here we can see the differences between the two. So the quality is substantially different, very small, very large, much more prominent. So both when we're looking at the tubule and when we're looking at the Leydig, you know, we can see way more improvements in both. So really good in that regard. Which they make these words a bit more easy to pronounce. My tongue twisting needs. Anyway, let's just hopefully this will come up. But I'm quite struggling tonight. It's just really starting to annoy me. Very slow. Anyway, so you can see the substantial difference. Look at the quality. Look how old and decrepit these look. Look how youthful and young and vibrant and manly they are. You know me, I have to overemphasize these things. It's our maleness. But ladies, you're male, you're man. You want him a stud, don't you? Let's move on before I say too much inappropriate stuff. So there you go, you know, big volumes increasing. And when it comes to, and this is sort of the actual, those cells, the actual nuclear volume, this is really important. Look at the dramatic jump, it's nearly double. The actual volume that's producing the testosterone, guys. You know, look at that, you know, bloody dwarfs, it's double in most cases. So E. coli sort of did a bit better after 7 months. But generally speaking, this is where the magic is. Double. That's what we want. We want volume. We want more testosterone. So ease. We want youthful levels. Anyway, let's move on. So we can see here again, in terms of hereditary increases, elixir proliferation and serum testosterone levels. Now let's look at those levels, close and personal. Look. So here we can see the actual proliferation. Look at that, you know, sort of doubling the volume, increasing all over the place. So, you know, we've got significant levels here. On the new diet, look there, that's far more. Vitamin D and B vitamins. I've been telling you guys how important the fat soluble vitamins of D, A, and MK4 really are, and they are showing they will give you that extra little bit, you know, of firmness. Well, you know what I mean. And when we look at the actual testosterone in terms of serum, You know, so there's the control. There's the actual. So you're not getting much effect there at all between the control and the new diet. It's actually even lower a bit, but not much statistically. It's statistical noise. But here, there's this, you know, it's close to zero, or not zero, but, you know, just slightly above in these old boys, the controls. But look here, significant. This is 5 months only, guys. Look at this, the levels. And look on a cleaner diet with, you know, more nutrient dense diet, which means the B vitamins and vitamin D. And our diet is more nutrient dense. So look at the significant jump. That's double the actual, you know, the standard diet. So on a carnivore diet, we're going to get bigger magnification of that effect. Also, don't neglect your vitamin D, either sun or supplementation. So yes, keep that in mind. And I suspect because you know, remember, vitamin D also modulates the immune system, very important. It also suppresses a number of these interleukins. It regulates macrophage and all sorts of things. And I suspect that is the sort of role, while this bacterium is also affecting those pro-inflammatory cytokines in combination with vitamin D. I think the vitamin D component is the thing, is the, you could say, the important element. Yes, B vitamins and everything else for better functioning, but I think the magical combination is the vitamin D and this immunomodulating effect. Anyway, let's move on, because they do cover those sort of areas. So that's the other images. Yep, we don't have to look at that. Do we have to look? No. Okay, let's move on in that regard. So there's your testosterone levels. So induced elevation of serum, and that was, you know, they looked at, I don't know why they didn't look right through, you know, they just looked at 4 months and, yeah, sorry, 5 months, and they didn't really look. I would be really interested where the levels would have gone after 12 months on this. Who knows? Would it just have plateaued out at that level, or would it have gone even higher? So that would have been interesting, but we don't know. So in that regard, I suspect they probably would have got a bit higher, probably not too much higher, but yes. Anyway, let's look on the consumption benefit of post-testicular sperm attributes. We need bigger loads, boys. Testes historical morphology of serum androgen concentration data were both suggested probiotic assisted upregulation of the spermatogenesis in mice. To directly test this, we assessed sperm concentrations and activity in sperm gathered from epididymites of mice at the age of 12 months. Sperms from eleutery treated mice had significant higher concentrations and activity. So those little things were swimming better as well compared to the non-treated aged control mice. And of that, why didn't I fire up? That's right, yeah. I had the PDF, which I was looking at, but I did want to have this because it provides me with an interactivity. I didn't want to have to zoom in and zoom out. So as you can see, sperm concentration and sperm activity. So the sperm, you know, it's just basically, we're talking about, it's well over 3 times, basically, let's put it that way. So you're going to get a big load, boys, or yeah, your partners. Anyway, so, and when it comes to activity, good improvements there as well. So that's moving total sperm measures up to, like 100%. Probably at 100% would be a young child, probably up to, into their 30s or whatever, somebody, then somebody in their probably 40s, it would drop down to about the 80 mark. Maybe, maybe around about this level. So for an old aged mouse to get sort of sperm level of activity back to a 30-year-old, not fucking bad. Let's put it that way. Those little boys will swim well. Let's move on. Got to make it entertaining, you know me. Okay, so we've covered that. Now, L-reuteri counteracts age-associated testicular atrophy. We don't want those balls shrinking. This is anti-shrinking as well. Well, we know that because it basically increases the actual testicular size. So obviously it will prevent the atrophy as well. So it talks about here about lesions and all sorts of stuff that appear frequently after 12 months and stuff like that, that it reduces those sort of things, showing features of mineralization. So it improves a whole lot of functions in there. So I'm not going to go in there about all this sort of stuff. So, but only to say that you basically will stop this from happening to you. And here we can look at seeing is believing, as one would say. Show me the balls. There's your control. Look how damaged these are in the control, how aged and damaged. Look at that, how youthful. Control, this is the atrophy levels. Look how the atrophy is diminished quite a bit compared to, I mean, that's multiple orders of difference. And we saw that in the image, in the initial, remember the initial image that I showed, how small those little balls were, and the other one had big, massive balls. I'm not promising that you'll have bigger balls than a younger man. Who knows? You never know. You take it long enough. You may really impress. So, yes. Out of there, you can see the difference. The quality is just, very good. So, I'm not. So if you talk about, mice live for 2 years. So we're talking about somebody who's in their, 50s or 60s, basically ending up having performance levels and, improvements similar to somebody who is 30 years younger than them. That would be the equivalent. I'm not promising that, but I'm saying that's the equivalent if you translate from mice to humans. So who knows if you do it long enough. I mean, I did it when I was doing my Candida protocol for a short period of time, and recently I got back onto it. So I haven't been doing long enough. My friends haven't been doing it long enough. They've noticed other things that have improved, and they've mentioned a few of these things, but really we need 12 months, 2 years to really basically be able to say how significant those improvements are. So in humans, or how long it takes actually. Can't even give you that. If people are having reproductive issues, males, and they use this method and they test themselves, I would love to know their results, so they could put them in the comments area, even at a future date. It would help others to give them an idea of the results they got. Anyway, let's move on. Yes. Now, also blocking interleukin 17. That's the one that really, so in our previous studies, we found that dietary probiotic counteract obesity. So remember I was talking about obesity last time, about that new probiotic that comes. Even this one is not too bad. I mean, in mice, obviously, they've got a different level of metabolism, so we can't extrapolate one to the other. But I believe that if you're increasing testosterone levels, usually men who have high testosterone have leaner bodies. So you can expect some level of leanness to come out of it in that regard. And I suspect, bringing down these inflammatory markers would improve the leanness of women as well. So, because inflammation can be something which is counteracts some of the other strategies that people do to reduce weight because of the high inflammation, elevated and causing other problems, higher cortisol, chronic cortisol levels, and it's nearly impossible to lose weight with higher cortisol due to inflammation, chronic inflammation. So when you actually, a lot of people out there think that I'm not losing weight. Why am I not losing? I've got a clean diet. You could have a high cortisol. Cortisol really is, if you've changed your diet and you've eliminated things that raise insulin and you're still high, I can bet you anything that it's cortisol that's basically preventing you from losing that weight. So this will help in that area as well. So age-related intrauterine pathology, at least in part by down-regulating systemic pro-inflammatory interleukin 17A dependent signaling to test whether beneficial effects of L-reuteri within testes also associated with this anti-inflammatory mechanism. We examined the effects of interleukin 17 depletion in the testes of 12-month-old mice, which is middle-aged mouse. We found that blocking pro-inflammatory interleukin 17 signaling entirely recapitulates the beneficial effects of probiotics. So weight of testes of interleukin depleted mouse was significantly higher than of the sham IgG tested, which is, that same sort of biomarker they test for other, for sort of the immune system response and stuff like that. Control mice, CD and anti-sham IgG versus CD anti-ILS 17. So they're going to that. Testes, weight, body, what analysis had similar outcomes. As with feeding of L-reuteri, the anti-IL-17 treated had no effect in total ST numbers, but it did affect significantly the cross-section profile size, which we talked about earlier. And I'm going to go past that. ILS depletion did not affect the relative percentage of nuclear volume of germs cells either. So, systemic depletion, visual reproduction fitness attributes. So this shows those reductions. So the anti-interleukin, much more improvement. So they're actually looking at the at that. Okay, we know that this will improve the this probiotic will actually have an effect on improving the testes. Okay. Now they actually tried with an anti-interleukin 17A medicine, and they were able to get similar effects. Okay, so Leydig cells improved with that medication as well. So you could use a medication, but some of these medications, long-term use, have side effects. So, but you do get probably not the improvements in atrophy that you would get with, you know, much. It was many orders more. This is only about 4 orders only. The other one was about up here. So there are bigger improvements which you'll get with the supplement rather than this medication. But it did have improvements, but medications have side effects. So, but it actually shows that it actually does work on that. It must work on that mechanism as well. And when you actually, when we were looking at the ones with the new diet, we saw a better response with the testosterone stuff and all that. So I suspect that's where the vitamin D is playing a role as well. So don't neglect the vitamin D. Here's another take-home message. So that's that part. Yep. We've covered the age-related atrophy. I'm not going to show another image. They were just showing the look. I will. Let's just look at the. There's your interleukin. We'll do it quickly. Blah blah blah. There's the improvements. So done. Same one. Anyway, let's move on. While conducting diet studies involving probiotic microbe Lactobacillus reuteri, we discovered that aging male animals had larger testes compared to age-matched controls. So that's looking at a whole lot of different animals. There's a number of different studies out there with different types of animals that have shown similar results. So they've accidentally come across a lot of these sort of, and then these guys have done, you know, they've looked at the literature and pulled it all together and said, okay, they've done their own experiments. They looked at additional literature. That's why they've got so many damn links on this. It's incredible the amount of links about testosterone, about this, about that. So they are covering all these sort of things. So they're doing a comprehensive, so they've got their own study and research, and they're actually looking at other related research that shows similar results, which is a really good thing because we've got additional studies confirming their findings, which is important. So it's not chance alone. This led us to hypothesize that dietary L-Luteri supplementation may act to prevent age and diet-related testicular atrophy in mice. Knowing that age-related hypogonadism had been linked with functional alterations of Leydig cells and low testosterone levels that reduce reproductive fitness and quality of life. So yes, this will improve your quality of life, boys. We examined testes of the probiotic microbe-fed mice and found that they had less testicular atrophy, coinciding with higher levels of circulating testosterone compared with their age-matched controls. Similar to testicular health benefits were produced using systemic depletion of pro-inflammatory cytokine interleukin-17 alone. So they point this out, which is what we looked at just at the end there, that dealing with this pro-inflammatory cytokine, they were able to basically show improvements. I've said for ages, you know, stress, you know, elevated cortisol, things like that can have an effect on our hormonal system as well. So implicating the chronic inflammatory pathway in hypogonadism. So chronic inflammation shrinks your balls, basically, that's what it's saying. Based on these observations, we propose a model whereby probiotic bacteria modulates gastrointestinal immunity, resulting in systemic effects on the immune system that activate metabolic pathways that restore tissue homeostasis and overall health, which is what we want. Yes, we want big balls, but that's vanity. And for reproductive health, you want to be able to grab onto something. I know, I understand, boys, but at the same time, it will improve your health and your overall tissue homeostasis. That means your hormonal, many other things. So that's an important other aspect in that way. Let's move on a bit more. One specific aspect of this paradigm is reciprocal activities of pro-inflammatory interleukin, which is related to the interleukin 17, and anti-inflammatory trigger cells, and that was the pathway generating, on T cells regulation. I'm not going to go into that. Fuck that. So mucosal surfaces, anti-inflammatory cytokine interleukin 10, facilitative immunotolerance recruitment, that's of CD4. So as you can see, CD4 is also involved with stem cell stuff and all that. So, this helps in that area as well, which is good. And it probably does actually, to produce more youthfulness and all that. It probably has. It may be. It's a thing that I can't prove, but the decline of, you could say, stem cell production, which we see as we get older, maybe even these bacteria could reduce the loss or the decline. So you don't dramatically decline as steep as you would normally on a poor, because of the poor diet and other factors and all that. So I can't prove anything of that. But, it does show that it's, there's studies there that are looking at it, and even in regards to colitis, which we know this helps with. But let's say I'm doing a bit of research in that to see how much this affects pretty much the improvement of stem cells. But I'm not going to go down that path today because I don't know enough. I think it has an effect, but I don't know how much of an effect. So I'm not going to speculate, is basically what I'm saying. Autoimmunity, obesity, and other inflammatory disease syndromes. So conversely, sufficient levels of IL-10 may increase the risk for autoimmunity and all that. So this will help with people that have got autoimmunity, obesity, and other inflammatory syndromes that they're suffering from. So obviously, they have pointed out westernized diet are also low in vitamin D, a nutrient that when present normally works together with IL-10 to protect against inflammatory disorders, which is what I've been telling you guys for a long time, that vitamin D is one of your best friends for autoimmunity. Okay? Anyway, and even some cancers, blah, 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 blah. So if you've got cancer and you've got low vitamin D, get your fucking vitamin D levels up in that regard. Hormone testosterone has been shown to act directly through androgen receptors on CD4A cells to increase IL-10 expression. So lytic cells, blah, 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 which we've talked about and looked at, and spermatogenesis. So there's more information here about that. They talk about, oral therapeutic, absent milk, extra protein, so getting rid of the sugar. and vitamin D supplied in yogurt, similar benefits, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, make your own kefir or yogurt with this is another option. And from an evolutionary perspective, we assert, and this is the part that I'm actually really important, because remember, it's in mammalian milk. Okay, from an evolutionary perspective, we assert that lactic acid bacteria may have co-evolved with mammals, exploiting testosterone to optimize mental, physical, and reproductive fitness. There you go. That doesn't fucking convince you, I don't know what. So, high serum testosterone levels compared to control in our separate studies correlated with not only leaner physique, we saw that in the rat, but also increased muscle mass. You want to bulk up, mate? And higher activity levels in the mice. We don't want you being a couch potato. Benefits of this microbial synergy may extend beyond individual fitness to reproductive success, impacting a natural selection process, favoring evolutionary success for the microbe and mammalian host. So basically what that's saying is, if you've got this and you can pass it on to your kids and their kids and their kids, are going to have greater reproductive success. They're going to be far more fitter, stronger, leaner, capable, mentally better, and everything else under the sun, because we've looked at the mental stuff before in the previous one, the earlier one that we did, the first one. So, yes. So pretty much that's basically it, guys. There's a whole lot of other things that it covers. People can go away and look at other experimental procedures, on diets. That's the actual, there you go. That's the second one in that supplemental. That's the one they used. So it's not the first one, which has other benefits, but the second one in that supplemental, the A66475, because in that supplement they've got basically the same amount, but they, you know, one actually is really good. The previous one that I showed, the C. diff and other superbugs, and this one is good for, yes, for that. Anyway, so we've covered all this, the quality of sperm as well, after human euthanasia using carbon dioxide. Both testes were isolated to remove, combined. So they're looking at tissue, male mice, immediately to look at the sperm quality. Sperms were suspended, evaluated, sperm concentration, sperm activity was assessed. It's a number of moving, usually tells you a lot about the quality of the sperm. So basically we had quality of sperm as well. So these were old mice that had, you know, youthful quality sperm. And there's all the actual figures below at the end and the acknowledgements, so you can actually go into the specific stuff that covers all the points to look at the statistics or whatever, if that is what you desire. So basically, if you want good reproductive health, leaner bodies into old age, and better reproductive capacity if you want to go down that pathway. But in general, you know, if you can actually produce more testosterone, you're going to be leaner, you're going to be healthier, you are going to be stronger, you're going to have stronger bones, you're going to have stronger muscles, you're going to be generally healthier into old age. And, you know, when your time comes and your genetic clock says we can no longer, you know, cell divide, you will just drop dead, but you won't be chronic at that stage. You'll have had a good old life. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, and we'll be covering something else for the remainder of this week. Anyway, see yous.